Yaute, my relatives, good afternoon. If you're here on the East Coast, it's about 12:30 on Tuesday, December 21st, and today is the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the hope of winter solstice. But before I do begin my second cup of coffee, I want to, as I always do, acknowledge that I'm speaking to you from what is now known as Washington, D.C., but that these are the traditional lands of the Piscataway. And I want to honor and thank the Piscataway for being the host people of these lands. And I want to just state how humbled I am to be living on these lands today. So yes, this today actually was I heard it was at 10:59 is the official winter solstice, which is the point where the Earth tilt. It appears that the sun has reached in the northern hemisphere its most southern point, and it's the shortest day of the year. And tomorrow the days begin getting longer. It's also known in a lot of places as the official day of the start of winter. So most places winter starts on December 21st. Some people will acknowledge winter, the first day of winter, as December 1st, but December 21st is also acknowledged as the first day of winter. And so for many people, the winter solstice, the first day of winter, is kind of depressing, right? The days have been getting shorter. We've been leaving fall, leaving summer, going into winter, and now it's the shortest point, and the days are going to be short for here on out for a while. And it just feels kind of gloomy and cold, and you have this sense of a long winter in front of you. And I used to think that way for a long time. I felt that way about winter. I felt that way about December 21st. I didn't even actually pay much attention to this date. But when we moved back to the reservation, and I began the practice, the discipline of watching the sunrise every morning, uh, December 21st began taking on a new significance in my life. Because when you're watching the sunrise and you're getting up most mornings to go and greet the sunrise, you're paying attention to the time the sun rises, and you're making sure you set your alarm and you're up in time and you can get out there and be ready for the sun to rise. And as the days are growing shorter, you're adjusting your time and you're actually going out a little bit later, a little bit later, a little bit later every morning. And the days are getting shorter. It's the sun's rising later. The sun's also setting earlier. And so you get to this December 21st, and that marks a change, because the next day, instead of getting up 30 seconds to a minute later, you'll now get up 30 seconds to a minute earlier. And so it feels significant, and you begin to have this sense of the days are getting longer. You can experience it and you can feel it. And if you remember, I actually wrote about this in my book, Unsettling Truths. In the forward to the book, or not the forward, in the introduction to the book, both my co-author and myself introduce ourselves, and I talk about the significance of watching the sunrise. I've read that introduction in the past. I'm not going to read the entire introduction right now, but I do want to read the first few paragraphs of that introduction, just so you can get a sense of how my thinking began to get shaped by watching the sunrise, and how I began to think about the first day of winter even differently. So this is, again, the introduction of Unsettling Truths. I'm reading on page 5. It says, one of the most beautiful, beneficial, and sacred spiritual disciplines I have incorporated into my life is the discipline of watching the sunrise. It is one thing to watch the sunrise a couple times a year, perhaps on Easter for a sunrise service, or when you have a 6 a.m. flight. Both times it is beautiful and calming. If the clouds are just right, the sunrise can even be breathtaking. But it's another thing altogether to intentionally rise 5 or 6 mornings a week and to be in a posture of prayer while watching the sun come up over the horizon. When you do this, you notice something very different. Yes, it is beautiful, peaceful, and even breathtaking. But when you do it day after day, week after week, month after month, and eventually year after year, something else happens. Subtle changes become glaring. Every morning in the spring, the sun moves just a little further north, and every morning in the fall, the sun inches just a bit further south. The birds come and go, migrating in the general direction of the sun's path. It is quiet. In the spring, the sun rises just a minute or two earlier as the days grow longer, and the earth warms as it begins to wake up. And in the fall, the sunrise happens just a minute or two later as the earth cools and prepares to go to sleep. Even the days on the calendar begin to take on a different meaning. June 21st is the first day of summer, and most of the hemisphere is celebrating. The days are long, the weather is warm, and school is out. Pools are open, barbecue grills are clean, the vacations are planned, but the 21st also marks an ending, and you can't help but feel just a slight mourning, a hint of lament, and a tinge of sadness, because you don't just know, you actually see. The sun has completed its journey north, and tomorrow, June 22nd, it will rise a moment or two later as it begins another long journey south. The same is true on the 21st day of December, the first day of winter. Many people are feeling glum. Winter is starting. The days are short. The weather is chilly. Almost no one celebrates the first day of winter as it marks the start of a long, cold, and dark season. But on that morning, you can't help but feel excited and find a new spring in your step. The sun has completed its long journey south. The days are through getting shorter and a new journey is beginning. You are hopeful because you know, you see, and you experience the very next day it will rise nearly a minute later as the sun once again begins its slow and hopeful journey north. Another benefit of watching the sunrise is the beauty of the sky. You realize it's not as much a sky as it is a canvas. Creator is not a far off and distant God. Creator is an amazing artist with a personality, an eye for beauty, and even a sense of humor. Every morning is a carefully orchestrated production, complete with a musical score. But the production is not a play or even a musical. The production is the art of creating is the act of creating a piece of art. The production is the privilege of watching the artist paint the picture, shape the vase, and arrange the score. For those of you who have been following me online, I want to thank you for joining me. I see Gigi is here and Jeffrey's online and Elu and others who have been following my live streams and joining me frequently for my second cup of coffee. I want to thank you all for being a part of this morning. It's good to have you here with me. Steve Wilson, I see you're on. It's good to have you here. But if you've been following me, especially over the past year, you know it's been almost 10 months. I think it was in February that I began watching the sunrise here in DC on a very consistent, regular basis. And I began traveling out to the Potomac and sitting there as the sun rises over Piscataway lands. And I always go to the same place. I always sit in the same spot and I face the river as I watch it come up over the water. But I do have to adjust the angle, not only of where I'm facing, but even of where I point the camera. I have two cameras with me mostly. I have my phone that I hold and I stream it over Facebook. And then I have another camera that I put on a tripod and I have that streaming over Instagram. And so throughout the season, I have to adjust the angle of the tripod so that it's continuing to track the sun as it moves both north and south. And so I want to share with you, all right, I put a few posts up. This morning I put up a post of the picture I took yesterday. It was too cloudy this morning to watch the sunrise on the winter solstice, but I put this picture up on my Twitter this morning. And I want to share that with you now on my live stream here. So this is the picture I took yesterday morning. And as you can see, it is a very beautiful sunrise kind of behind the trees. I always sit right in the rock, right next to those branches that kind of come down. I sit by those rocks and I watch it come up. And of course, this is almost the most furthest southern point that the tree reaches. And then I looked back over my sunrise pictures that I've taken over the past year. And so I often will take a picture from up on the hill as I'm walking down to watch the sunrise. Two pictures here. This is one I took just the other day, and you can see this is the picture where I usually walk down to this area of the field. You can see that branch coming down a little bit there, and then I sit in those rocks right there and watch the sunrise come up. and you can see that the sun from this angle is behind this larger tree, and it's just risen over there. And this is a picture from yesterday, June 20 or December 20th. And then if you look, this is somewhat the same angle. This is the sunrise. This is actually in July. I didn't have a picture in June of that angle. And so I took this picture, and you can see there, it's now completely away from that tree, and it's up behind the bushes over to the north. And if you see, you can see in this picture, these two, there's actually three kind of chimneys, are smokestacks that come up. One's behind a tree in the center of the picture. And if you look on this other picture, you can see those same smokestacks behind the bush over here on the north side, the left side of the photo. You can see those three smokestacks. And so the sun's rising even north of that. So it's actually rising almost probably to the north of these bushes. So that's a fairly big space that the sun moves as it goes north and south due to the tilt of the earth. And you can see that, and it's kind of awe-inspiring to see that. But I wanted to share this with you because, again, and if you want to read the entire introduction where I talk about the significance of watching the sunrise, watching it come up from the same space, from the same point, day after day, week after week, and now it's been month after month here in DC, you can feel yourself kind of getting into the flow of creation and the flow of nature and what's been happening around you. And you can see the subtle changes that you may not notice if you just look every now and then. But when you watch it day after day, week after week, month after month, you begin to see these changes taking place. And this is why I find the winter solstice so hopeful. Yes, it's cold. Yes, it's winter. Yes, we're starting a cold and snowy season. But the days are getting longer. I'm actually rising a little bit earlier every morning, and I'm watching the sun begin to move north again as the days become longer and longer. And it's something that really, it's not a light hope of just you feel kind of this excitement, but it's this much deeper hope of, yeah, even though the world is kind of lamenting that we're in winter now and it's cold, but you see what's subtly different. And even though you can't really perceive it, but you see these very subtle changes, and there's a much deeper hope that comes from that. And I noticed that not only today, right, but I've noticed this as it's now been close to 15 years that I've been watching, actually close to 20 years. I started watching the sunrise back in the early 2000s when we first moved back to the reservation living out in the Hogan. This is like 2004, maybe 2003, 2004, we moved back there. And for those number of years, going over 15 years now, I actually find the winter solstice gives me tremendous hope. And I wanted to share some of that hope with you today. And I know not everyone is able to get up due to schedule and commitment and things like that to watch the sunrise every morning. And that's one of the reasons I've begun live streaming it. When I lived on the reservation, I would actually take a photo. And we didn't have the technology or the bandwidth back then to live stream remotely like that so frequently or so easily. So I would take a picture of the sunrise and post it every morning. But since I moved here to DC, obviously technology has changed a lot even over the past 15 years, and it's now very simple to live stream a fairly high quality video. And so I do that most mornings when I'm able to watch the sunrise. And I do that as a way to invite people in to this experience that maybe you can't experience on your own in a live fashion, watching it in front of your own eyes. But by putting these online and inviting people to take a few minutes out of their day to sit down and watch something on social media that is calming and is peaceful. I work very hard not to make these live streams political in any way when I watch the sunrise. I even just try to focus on the hope of the new day and the beauty that we're surrounded by. And if there are issues we need to address, we address them through a stance of prayer and of lifting them up. But I'm doing this as a way to really invite the nation, even the globe, into this process of recognizing we're not in control, finding hope in the fact that we're not in control, and being able to observe and notice these subtle changes as they happen around us. So anyway, I just wanted to jump on as I was drinking my second cup of coffee this morning. I just wanted to share with you some of my thoughts on the hope that I find in the winter solstice. I want to get a little better about looking through my comments here and just making sure that we can, any things we need to bring up. I see Phil is on joining me, and Andrea is on. Thank you. Mary is here. Hey, thanks, Mary. It's great to see you. Actually, that's not Mary, that's War Pony. Sorry, I just read that. So yeah, I want to thank everybody. So War Pony asks if I'm going to run for president in 2024. That decision has not been made yet. I'm looking at what we can do right now in the next year to actually address some of the things going into the midterm elections. It, of course, will always be an option to run in 2024, but I will make that decision probably sometime later in this next year as we look at what's been going on around us. And so, yeah, let me just look back over some of these comments. Looks like a lot of people are saying good morning. Phil Fox, Andrea, Barbara Bartleson is joining us. Holly is joining. Mark, the sunrises over Turtle Island are beautiful. Thanks for watching these. I'm glad you can join me, Holly. It's great to have you on here with me, enjoying these sunrises. Or Lisa, thank you for joining. Good morning. I see you put a little cup of coffee icon there. So yeah, I encourage people join your coffee. And if you have, one of the things I want to do this next year, if you have local coffee houses near you that sell coffee, let me know about. I'm always looking for great local coffee shops, and if I can buy, especially places that roast their own coffee, if I can order coffee from different local coffee shops around the country, I'm always up to trying new coffees and kind of expanding my coffee experience. So yeah, if you have a great local coffee shop that roasts their own beans, let me know about them. And I'm going to try to find several over this next year that I can place an order with and hopefully have the beans shipped to me. And I will, of course, make them in my AeroPress and drink them in my Bluebird mug over my second cup of coffee. So let me know. It'd be great to know some different spots around the country. But Elu is joining me this morning. Thank you for your engagement. Jeffrey Michael Blagg is here. Good morning, Jeffrey. It's great to have you. I want to just thank everyone for joining me for my cup of coffee this morning. I'm trying to make them more interactive, a bit shorter, and a bit more focused just on one or two points so that they don't feel like they're so heavy, but also we can have some good discussion if we need to. So anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you all have a great day. One of my daughters is off of school right now, and so we're going to go out and do some Christmas preparation today. Go out and get some packages in the mail, even though they probably won't arrive on time before the holiday. But we're going to get some stuff in the mail. Where actually, my daughters baked some cookies this week, and so we're sending some cookies out to grandparents so that they can enjoy some cookies. And then I have to do a few more stops for some Christmas shopping yet and get a few more gifts. So we're going to be busy with that today. I also, as you know, if you've been watching the news, the Omicron variant of COVID-19 is causing a lot of challenges right now. I actually read one article this morning, or heard one news story on it this morning, that it's now about 70% of new cases, I think, down from less than 10% just a week ago. And so the Omicron variant, while does not appear to be causing as severe sickness in people who are vaccinated, there also does appear to be a lot more breakthrough cases with people who are vaccinated. And so I'm really encouraging people not only to get vaccinated if you're able to, but to continue to social distance and to wear masks. I want to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to protect our own health, as well as the health of those who are around us. The schools in DC, there's a few schools in DC, including one of my daughter's schools, the one my other daughter goes to, that they actually went back to virtual learning this week, for the 3 days that they're in session this week, just because of the rapid number of cases that are rising. Of course, we're hearing about all the sports events that are being canceled or postponed right now. And so I want to encourage people, please continue to take the virus seriously. I know we're tired, and I know we need to do things to protect our mental health, and we need to continue to relate and acknowledge and engage socially with each other. But I ask you to make sure you do that responsibly, and to guard your own health and guard the health of the most vulnerable in your community. So that's all I have to say. I hope you have a great day, my relatives. Walk in beauty, and may we learn how to walk in beauty together. Hakone.